Crossing cultures. Crossing cultures. Crossing paths, making changes and new ranges. Crossing cultures.
Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of Crossing Cultures. I am Keisha, and today I am joined by Yusuf, who I actually met through social media, right? So we met through LinkedIn.
Correct.
So it just shows you the power of LinkedIn. I posted the very first episode of Crossing Cultures, and I was able to make this amazing contact. So welcome, Yusuf, to another episode of Crossing Cultures.
Thank you,
It's
Keisha.
an honour to have you.
Appreciate that.
Just a quick question to start off the podcast. Who are you? Where are you from?
So, I'm. It's an interesting question because
Yeah.
when I say I'm from London, right? Because when you're from London, we all know where our backgrounds are from.
Yeah.
But when you're born and raised in London, it's kind of like London has its own culture within itself. But I'm Egyptian. My parents are Egyptian. But I'm born and raised in London, Hackney. If you're aware of Hackney, and I grew up in Hackney in Islington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm a South London lady.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
know Hackney very well, very
Yes.
well. So it's an honour to have you here
Thank
today.
you. Thank you.
So as an icebreaker, I'm going to ask you to select a card from the box and
Okay.
I'll read it out. So there's a
Alright.
few you can
Yeah.
choose.
All
Yeah.
right.
Do you want me to read it out?
Who is the strongest person you know, and how do you wish you were more like them? I'd say my mum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd say my mum and my dad.
Yeah. And
You
how
know.
do you, what is it about them that you wish you were more like?
The resilience.
Really?
You know,
Yeah.
coming to London in the 80s, having 7 children in London. My father got a scholarship to study in Imperial College, to do a master's and a PhD. Chose after becoming, I guess having a doctorate in geology, chose to not use it and give us a better life, to stay in London, and kind of started from the ground up, start from scratch. So as much as I've ever done, I don't think it's anywhere near the effort that they put in to raise us, essentially. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
It's true.
All right, I'm going to pick out the next one. Okay.
Starting with the deep questions.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. It's random, so
Yeah,
we
it's
don't know.
random.
Okay, so which teacher had the biggest impact on you and why? Hopefully you got one.
I would say during my A-levels, I had a teacher called Mr. Hergy. So he graduated from Cambridge. I went to a regular sixth form called La Swap in North London. He was a teacher in private school for many years. He was an economics teacher, and I'd never studied economics. I chose it for A-level, and he taught us the hacks. He made me understand the subject as opposed to it just being reading out of a book or doing a presentation. Back then, there wasn't so much PowerPoint presentations or whatever, but he would make us write he would write on the board for the majority of the lesson. We would copy everything down. I would get a U in every single mock that I did, but for some reason, he gave me that kind of belief to keep going. I remember in my AS, I didn't do so well in economics. I got a D. And the reason why he's for me probably the most impactful teacher that I had was when I was in year 13 in my A-levels. I retook the whole of AS and A-level in the same year. And I was applying for university, and I wanted to go to a good university. I'm ambitious, so I was applying for UCL. I didn't get into UCL, but I got into SOAS, and they needed predicted grades of an A, right? So I remember going to him, and I had a D, and I said to him, "Listen, sir, please, predict me an A." And he was like, I can maybe predict you a grade higher. If I predict you 2 grades higher, that's the biggest stretch. You want me to predict you 3 grades higher, and you've shown me nothing." And he ended up doing it. And I don't know why, because I kind of didn't show so much in class. but I ended up getting an A. I ended up getting like 96%, in the A level in economics. I studied really, really hard. It clicked with me. And the reason why I say he was most impactful is because I would read over what I wrote for the last 2 years, and then it was all very relevant stuff and it made sense to me. And I remember calling him when I got my results and saying, I got an A. Like, I called him, I think I called him before my parents as well, because I was so grateful that he saw something, and I was able to kind of do him proud. So yeah, he's
That's
probably...
really interesting because as a teacher, we in my last school in the UK, we had something called an aspirational grade. So we would give the students an aspirational grade that we want them, we believe that they can get. So there's actually something quite powerful in that you saying that he, even though you were like 3 grades below, he gave you the aspirational target and you aspired to it and you actually achieved it.
Yeah.
So it's quite powerful when we say about when we're trying to achieve things, about writing goals down.
Right.
And that was a goal that was written down for you and you pushed yourself to go beyond what you were working at already. It's really powerful.
Yeah, I had always had the belief that I can do it,
Yeah.
but it was something within that subject, it weren't clicking. Every time I would do a mock paper, even when I did my first year, it wasn't clicking for me.
Yeah.
But he was constantly preparing us for the exams, he was telling us, private school, they're preparing you for the test,
100,
right?
yeah.
And he would constantly, from day one, be doing past papers with us and explain to us. And he'd say, listen, look at the mark scheme. That's not a cheat. It's actually the cheat code because you're seeing exactly what the examiner wants from you. And I just remember during that, it was 2006, so I'm showing my age. So I was doing the A-levels and I don't know what it was, but something clicked with economics and it kind of all made sense.
Yeah.
And I studied it in university and I graduated with an economics degree, a Bachelor of Science in Economics.
Oh, brilliant.
And yeah.
Excellent. See, these questions are good.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Okay, this is quite similar to what you've already answered already. Okay, so what do you think is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life is... So the first thing that comes to my mind is a verse from the Quran, is وَمَا خَلَقْتَ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. So God is saying in the Quran, I have not created mankind and the jinn but to worship me. So that's the meaning of life, worship. But worship comes in every form and everything that you do. You're brushing your teeth for cleanliness and hygiene is a form of worship. You're eating healthy food to fulfill your physical needs. It's a form of worship. You're doing sport, you're studying, you're raising children, you're teaching, you're working, you're walking. Everything, I believe, can be a form of worship. So I would say that's the aspiration, that everything that we do is a form of worship.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Okay, who is your biggest supporter?
Myself.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say so.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
From day one.
Yeah.
From day one. I'll be honest with you. From day one. Of course, you have a lot of support from others. But yeah, I kind of just had the kind of blind belief in myself, regardless of whatever happened, or if I had absolutely nothing, which I've had many a time in my life, I have that belief. Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. I like that answer. Yeah, why not? Why can't you?
For sure.
So obviously we're based in Qatar. I've
Right.
been here this is my 7th year.
Okay.
And I know I know we spoke about, before about this. The first question when you meet people in Qatar is like, how long have you been in Qatar for?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? Stuff like that. So how long have you been in Qatar for?
13 years.
All right.
Yeah,
What made you come to Qatar?
I always say Qatar came to me.
Yeah.
So I didn't apply for anything in Qatar. When I finished university, I opened my own business and it was related to youth development and leadership training. And I would do summer camps and trips and bring people from around the Middle East to the UK. And then we do trips. And after my first one in 2010, a few people reached out to me. Funnily enough, actually, someone reached out to me and said to me, I remember he woke me up in the morning, because you know the time difference, right? So for them it might have been like, you
Could have
know,
been
3 hours
yeah.
ahead. So I'm being woken up at like 8 in the morning, and my voice as it is quite, you know, hoarse. So when you wake up, it's like it's non-existent. And I remember like I see a long number +974 blah 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 blah. I start coughing, making sure I clear my voice. Hello, 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 hello. So it was CEO of a group of companies, and he was like, I don't. This is what he said to me straight away. He goes, I don't know who you are, but I received your CV from 3 people who don't know each other. So who are you, right? And at that time, you know, I'd had my business, closed my business actually, and told him what I did, and he was like, "We want to develop a youth excellence kind of foundation company type thing." Kind of a mixture between the Duke of Edinburgh and building kind of skills and exploration. And it was more about youth excellence. So he said, look, I'm developing something and I want you to write a proposal for me. I didn't even know what a proposal was. I was like 22. And he said, write it for me, send it over. Wrote it in a few days, sent it to him, and didn't hear anything for like 4 months. And then once I was doing my CELTA course, if you know what CELTA is, you know, to teach English, I wanted to go to like Thailand. I wanted to just, I wanted to leave, I always wanted to leave London. So a lot of people say, why'd you leave London? I always felt, remember, you know, there was the global financial crisis. I kind of felt personally, I kind of outgrew London. there was a whole world. Why do I need to be in London as much as London is great and is a big city and one of the biggest cities, used to be one of the best cities in the world. I say used to be. It's not the best anymore. But I was like, well, let me see what the rest of the world has to offer. And it came to me.
Yeah.
And while I was doing that course, I remember I had just got a job in Thailand. So, and then I get an email saying, just with a job offer, and saying you got 3 days to accept it. You're starting in 2 weeks. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, so you wasn't scared to leave the UK?
No, not at all. I'll tell you what it is. So when I was in my last year of university, I had the opportunity to go to Machu Picchu in Peru to do hiking. So it was raising money for orphans, Palestinian orphans, orphans in Somalia and Palestine at the time. And I remember, alhamdulillah, we managed to raise the money, and I went. And prior to that, I'd only ever been, obviously, London, and then I'd only ever been to Egypt, right? On the summer, we'd go for a few weeks and whatever, I see my family. And then when I went to Peru, it was just like, wow, there's a whole world out here that's so amazing, so beautiful. What else has the world got to offer? And when I finished university, I made the decision to go to China on 48 hours notice. It was Ramadan. My friend just said to me, my friend Muhammad, shout out Muhammad, he said to me, I'm going to China in 2 days. I'm staying with my uncle over there. Do you want to come? And funnily enough, it was a Qatar Airways flight. So it was the first time I ever went to Qatar. It was 2009.
Crazy.
Yeah. And we went to Hong Kong, but we had like a 22-hour stop off in Doha. And one of my really, really close friends, brothers, Hassan, was working here at the time with Al Jazeera. So I remember we landed here and we went to Villaggio. I was like, whoa, what's this place? This is amazing, right? Everything was halal, everything was nice. It was interesting, but I never considered this as a place that I would ever go to. But I was like, wow, you know, Qatar, I've always known Qatar, heard of Qatar, especially from Al Jazeera. You know, it's always on at home, always watching it. But yeah, when Qatar won the bid for the World Cup, I kind of just said to myself, I want to be there. I want to see it. Studying economics, development economics. I specialized in development economics of the Middle East. So you're really looking at how countries transform and develop and do that. So it was always like, wow, well, a country with a lot of wealth, but a peninsula with only one border, dependent on many other countries, dependent on fossil fuels. How are they going to be able to deliver something so big? I am so curious to see it. So subhanAllah, when I got the opportunity to come here, I remember my first week, 2 weeks when I came here, it was Ramadan, it was hot, it was August, there was no Ubers, taxis, nothing. I would stand on the street waiting just for any car to, there was no karwa. Karwa was like you'd wait for a couple hours for a customer to come past. So the majority of the time, it would just be a random guy, just a nice person, somebody that's helpful, who would just stop, be like, "Where you going?" I'll be like, "I need to go to a shop. Like, I got nothing in my house. I don't know where the closest shop is." So
There's no snoo or Taliban.
oh no, none of that, none of that. So to see that transformation,
Yeah.
for me, it's amazing. It's amazing to see it. Qatar's a fantastic place to be right now.
The country develop.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, where
Wow.
we're sitting right now, we're in
Yeah.
Lusail. I remember coming to Lusail in 2012. One of my friends took me here and was like, this is going to be the new city. There's going to be all the ministries are going to be here. There's going to be towers. And it was a desert.
Yeah.
There was nothing. It
Wow.
was just desert on the floor.
Yeah.
So to see that and see that transformation,
Yeah.
I'm very proud of it as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because I remember my friend was the first person who introduced me to Qatar. So I've never even heard of Qatar before. So when I did come out here for a week before taking the job, for me, it was like, it's a no-brainer. I have to take this opportunity. Life has changed for me so much in terms of just like the standard of life that I live. The quality of life that I live now.
Right. We get comfortable out here.
You do get
Yes, we
comfortable.
do.
And you get comfortable with the hospitality as well. So when you go back home, you get to see how unhappy some people are. And you get to see how the hospitality is so different. You get so spoilt here. Packing your shopping.
Right.
Like, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
You
Petrol.
don't put petrol in your car here. There's a job for everyone. And like you were saying, I don't know why the UK doesn't just create these jobs. There's jobs out here that we can create, that we can replicate, that, happens
Right.
in
Well, it costs
Middle
money,
East.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But, like, we always tipping people. That culture is so embedded here that you don't really see in the UK as much.
For sure.
So for me, it's been a great experience. Do you have any regrets? Like, I know you said that you had an opportunity to go to Thailand. Have you managed to travel to Thailand?
Yeah, I've been a couple of times.
Do you regret not taking the opportunity? Or are you
No,
just
absolutely
happy that
not.
you decided it was Qatar?
I'm very happy. Although in the first year, I would say it was really difficult because just the lack of services. As much as we're very spoiled now and it's all really nice, in the beginning it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I didn't really know anyone. I was a lot younger than everyone else that I was working with, so there was definitely a disconnect. As much as you're all coming from abroad, you're really not the same.
Yeah.
Even other people from the UK that you would mix with, everyone kind of sticks together. And I found it to be, I'm not going to stick with you lot just because we're all from the UK. Okay, that's one thing that connects us. But at the same time, I would say what made me love this country was the fact that from day one, I was mixed with the people, right? So the CEO of the company said to me, I don't want you to sit in the office. I want you to go into the schools and I want you to understand the mentality of the Qatari youth.
Yeah.
Okay. And as I said, I was young at the time. I maybe just turned 23. So I'm sitting with the sixth form kids and we're similar in age. I connected with them a lot more. They connected with me a lot more. And it became, we're brothers.
Yeah.
We're brothers. We play football together. We go to the gym together. I go to the majlis with them. They were quite excited to see somebody who was an Arab, but at the same time, I'm from London, so, mister, how you speak this English? A very good accent type thing. But I found the hospitality from them, to be so beautiful that they are actually what made me like the country. Right? I was in the houses, in the majlises on a daily basis. They'd be picking me up, dropping me off. I didn't even have a license. Coming from London, unfortunately, and I definitely say unfortunately, I didn't even learn how to drive. We got buses and underground and all that type of stuff. So it's more expensive to have a car in London than not have a car. And for these, no, don't worry, my driver will pick you up, or I'll come and pick you up. And they'll come and they want to show me, this is our food, this is our this is our that. So they are what made me very comfortable, right? And I would say if it wasn't for them, and funnily enough, I was telling you off camera that today I'm going to go to the desert to go meet some of these boys. These are the same boys who made me feel at home 13 years ago.
Wow.
And they're still the same group of friends, and I would definitely say, I'm very grateful to them.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So, yeah. So no regrets, definitely no regrets.
Yeah. No, you can't regret Qatar.
Yeah,
you
not
cannot.
at all.
You cannot. So what is your, if there was no restrictions in terms of what you can plan to do in Qatar to elevate your services, what do you think that one thing would be? Like, what's the one thing you think is missing from education in the schools here?
I'd say more collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say more collaboration. As much schools are run like companies, so schools are run like businesses, which they are a lot of the time. Unless they're government schools or unless they're part of, whatever entity, they're run as businesses. Staff are here to work. Everyone wants to protect their contract. Everyone wants to make sure they keep their job. So unfortunately, what that does is it always creates a disconnect or a divide. What we do, where we go in and all our services are free. We go in, we deliver empowerment talks, motivational talks. We go and deliver soft skills, coaching. And every time I go to a school, I realize it's needed more and more and more, because initially one of the services we do is, for example, university admissions. We have competitors who do the same thing as we do, but obviously in our company we offer a multitude of services, and one of the things that I believe in is I believe in giving value, and giving value is you're giving as much as you can, where you're not necessarily wanting something in return. You're wanting to plant a seed. It's a form of branding, it's a form of marketing, it's a form of PR, but you're actually delivering something that is needed and is not there. And once you get in and once you deliver, they're like, can you come again?
Yeah.
Do you mind if you come again? And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very proud that we're able to deliver something like that. But I would say the initial stages, it's usually quite difficult to kind of break that barrier. But once you do, it becomes a fantastic relationship. So I would say more collaboration.
I definitely would say, for me, it's a really good point that you made. I think I took more risk in the UK. Like, I felt safe to take risk, So for me, I was, luckily enough, I worked with a fantastic head teacher in my last school. And when I came to him with a proposal, it was immediately accepted. And he didn't micromanage me through the process. He made sure the funding was there for me to do what I needed to do. And for me, I missed that. I missed that. Try something new. We'll support you. It's okay to make mistakes. And here, what you're saying is that because everybody's trying to protect the contract, they play it very safe.
Yeah,
and the problem with that is that we don't push ourselves as practitioners. If we're not stretching ourselves, then we're not offering the students something beyond what we could be offering them, something a little bit more innovative and creative. So I think you're definitely right with that. And I think that we need to get to a point where we're not scared to take risk. And if we make mistakes, it's not, you're not going to get renewed next year because you made the mistake. Right. You're brave enough to make it, as long as it's not something that impacts students' safety, stuff
Absolutely.
like that. I think we should go for it, be a little bit more braver.
And I would say that's across the board in all sectors. So prior to running my business, which is predominantly an education and training business, I was in business development. So, and I worked in many different industries in business development, and I never wanted to stay in one sector, because what I realized here is you get pigeonholed real quick. Right? So if you're a teacher, you're a teacher. You can't really get involved in anything else because you're a teacher. If you're working in construction, khalas, you are a construction person. And I never wanted to be kind of limited. I always wanted to see what else is about. And really I wanted to see, how is this country developing as a whole country? And the only way to do that is to experience the different sectors. And thankfully, I've been blessed to be able to do that. It was the intention, but actually it was always never my choice. It kind of always just happened, and that's God's plan ultimately. But I'm very blessed to have seen all the different industries, and what you say in the education sector goes across all the other sectors, where people definitely don't take risk. People want to just stay how they are, walk next to the wall, as they say, let me do my job, keep myself to myself. But what that does is that it inhibits the innovation, right? And we are very innovative and creative people as humans, and you don't want to, you don't want to limit yourself.
Yeah.
So I would say that unfortunately that's the case. Of course, there are always people that break that rule. I was always the one trying to be that
Yeah,
person
yeah.
who would always try and do completely different things. I've quit jobs that are very secure, very safe, very well paid to go into complete unknown. But then if you don't try, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
What's the worst is I always kind of say, and I used to be afraid of it. It's not as if I was going in, open arms. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited to take this risk. But I was like, if I don't do something different, I can't be here for the next 10 years. And then
And then you become unhappy.
you
Because
could
you
be,
become
you could be
stagnant.
unhappy the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
it's just
agree.
like, well, I know I'm getting my job. I know it's safe. I know it's a safe country. It's tax free. For example, kids can go to school free. I go back home every year. So it's kind of like, well, let me just play it safe.
Yeah.
But we mentioned comfortability, but sometimes it's a false sense of comfortability
Yeah.
because we're so comfortable we don't save. We think that this is going to stay forever. So I would always say, and if I speak to anyone, if I speak to myself 13 years ago, I would say save.
Yeah.
Save, save and invest, save and invest,
Yeah,
save and
yeah,
invest.
yeah.
Because we just fall into that comfortable life, especially
Yeah.
back in the day. Anything you opened, I've been to every hotel, every restaurant, you've tried everything because there's
Yeah.
only so much that there was to do. But then you realize, like, as much as I'm making, it's kind of all going.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I would say saving is
have a
something,
plan.
100%,
Yeah,
100%
definitely
have that plan.
And, obviously being a Muslim as well, living in a Muslim country, how was that different for you? You said you came here during Ramadan, so that must have been really different, experiencing your first Ramadan in Qatar when you first got here.
Yeah.
What is that? How has that developed your walk, your faith?
Funnily enough, I kind of prefer Ramadan in London. Now maybe not so much. Now definitely not so much. But when I came, I came relatively young. The previous, I would say 2-3 Ramadans, every Ramadan I'm working with Islamic Relief, which is one of the, it's a charity. We would go and hand out water bottles in a different mosque every day. So it was very active. I got all my friends there. We're going to the mosque. We're doing Taraweeh. We're doing Tahajjud at night. Whereas here, I would say the community wasn't so much. As much as everyone is Muslim, there wasn't that community because, well, there was a community, but there wasn't a community that I could resonate with because each country kind of stays together. So,
Okay, yeah, I
so
get
that was
that.
something that I found and I didn't really adapt to it. But being in a Muslim country, and one thing, because now I kind of live between London and Doha, when I'm here, it's like, if I need to pray at any time, I can just turn the next road, there's a mosque. I'm in the mall, you've got 6-7 prayer rooms in each
Yeah.
mall, so that's beautiful, it's amazing. The fact that it's a Muslim country, it's majority Muslim people, the people who are not Muslim are respectful of the religion and tend to understand more what the religion is. Maybe you, before coming here, maybe you didn't know so much, or maybe you had some preconceived kind of notions of Islam. When you come here and you realize,
Yeah.
everyone's so nice, and the food is all halal. That's something that's a big deal for us. I don't have to think about where I'm going to eat. I don't have to think about, I need to pray because the time is up. No, we can go right here in the corner. It's very normal. Maybe the guy here would say to me, yeah, this is the way to pray.
Yeah.
So I find that to be extremely comfortable, and that's something that you really can't, money can't buy that.
Yeah. I agree.
nice.
I agree.
Yeah,
I have so many people always messaging me about, teaching out here, getting a job out in Qatar or just the Middle East. And I always say to them, just go for it. It's worth it. It will be worth it. As long as you do your research and you work for the right company with the right benefits, it is 100% worth taking the risk and making that move for your family. So my last question is, what advice would you give somebody who's kind of like in that 50-50 mindset of, I'm not too sure if I should do it? What advice would you give them to,
In terms of Qatar,
yeah, just to help to to change the mindset in terms of like how life is different here, how it's better?
It's definitely better.
Yeah.
It's definitely better. I would always say, look, it depends on what you're going to do. It depends on what the job is going to be. It depends on what your package is. There's good and bad in everything, but the good definitely outweighs the negatives, and you're never gonna know what a new experience is like unless you try it. Because if you're on the fence and you're like, yeah, well, we have this, we're from London and we have my family's here, or I can get to places easily. London ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
You can always go back. But if you want to have a different experience in your life, if you want to elevate yourself in one way or another, plus it's tax-free. So if that's the first major benefit, if I'm going to speak to someone from the UK, I'm going to be like, bro, it's tax-free. That's number one. But for me, it's more so, it's extremely safe.
Yeah.
The most important thing about this country is the safety, right? As a female, you can be out 1, 2, 3 in the morning, nothing will happen to you, right? So from a safety point of view, from a financial point of view, and from an experience of going to a new country, whether that be Qatar or anywhere else, we tend to be very risk averse. We don't like to take risks.
Yeah.
We like to kind of just play it safe, as we mentioned earlier. And coming from, I would say, especially London as the city, you're kind of like, well, I'm from London. Like, why should I go anywhere else? But you're never going to really experience anything outside of that postcode that you're in, or anything outside of that area that you're in. So how do you know what is good for you or what's not good for you? And a lot of the time, we are afraid of either failure or we're afraid of the unknown. But you have no idea what's going to happen to you tomorrow. So everything is unknown.
Yeah.
And the only thing that is guaranteed in our life is change.
Yeah.
Right? Every single day, you have no idea what's going to happen. The last 4 or 5 years have proven that we have no idea what's happening. Look what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
So if you're not willing to make that change, you're really suppressing yourself. And I would say that you really are not exploring your you're not exploring your ultimate self.
Yeah.
Right? You have something called self-actualization, which is to be the best version of yourself without adding strings to your bow, without knowing, or without experiencing something new. You're never going to know how good you've become.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I was listening to Mike Tyson, and he said something that was quite powerful. And he said, man's biggest flaw is that they set limitations on themselves. And we are constantly limiting ourselves.
Yeah.
We are constantly like, yeah, well, I've done this, so, you're really proud of that achievement, or I'm here, this is great, like, let's stay within this bubble, I don't want to go out. Well, you've limited yourself.
Yeah.
How good can you be?
Yeah.
And that's something that I try to do within myself, and then be able to push that on to other people.
Yeah.
And even here, when you're speaking with, for example, students, and it doesn't matter what background they come from, doesn't matter how much money they have, we come across students from all over the world, you realize that everyone wants to keep it really safe, whereas if we take those risks, right, and learn from them, then you're going to be able to elevate yourself in one way or another. Because whatever thing that you've done, you're always going to be like, well, I learned this from this. Let's say you failed. Let's say you started a business, right? Let's say you started this podcast, right? No one watched it, right? And obviously, inshallah, many people watch it, right? But let's say no one watches it. What are you going to sit down? You're going to go back. If you're an analytical person, if you're an ambitious person, a passionate person, you're going to turn around and say, okay, well, why has nobody watched it? Well, maybe I didn't advertise it. Maybe I didn't use the correct algorithm. Maybe the lighting was off. Maybe the sound was off. Maybe the visuals was off. Maybe the person I was speaking to wasn't the right person. Maybe I wasn't asking the right questions. But you wouldn't have asked yourself any of these questions if you hadn't have done one or two, right?
Yeah.
So do it,
Yeah.
evaluate, improve. Right? That's everything. It's all
Yeah.
trial and error. Life is
Yeah.
trial and error.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen from the first time. I would say I'm a testament to that. I'm constantly trialing. I'm constantly making mistakes. And I pray, inshallah, one day I'll be able to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, you know what? I'm really glad that I came to Qatar. And I'm glad that I started this podcast. I'm glad that I
Absolutely.
have the space and the time to do it.
Mhm.
I don't think I would have had these opportunities if I stayed back at home. So I'm very thankful. And I'm really thankful that you messaged me on LinkedIn and that you're here and we've made this connection.
Absolutely.
And long may it last and
Absolutely.
flourish and etc. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you
yeah.
so much.
You're
I hope you
welcome.
enjoyed the conversation.
It was great. No, it was fantastic. I enjoyed the conversation. It was much more of a normal conversation, which I really liked.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely.
All right. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode with myself and Yusuf. So I look forward to doing the next episode and welcoming the next guest for next time. So thank you so much, guys. Stay tuned for Crossing Cultures.